It would not be a stretch to say that Malaysia Airlines chief Peter Bellew has the toughest job in aviation today. The national carrier is still on the path to recovery after years of rot in the route, and 2017 is the year that it is supposed to see sustained profitability, according to Khazanah's recovery plan. We ask him about his strategy of giving more to the customer, even as peers Cathay and SIA cut back, continued distrust from the public, which has made its way onto social media, and whether Malaysia Airlines can finally be called sustainable. So we have Peter Bellew with us from Malaysia Airlines. Thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
Delighted to be here.
All right, I'm not going to pull any punches. So 2017 is going to be a keystone year for Malaysia Airlines because if you remember all the way back when Khazanah did their 12-point plan, they said that by the end of this year was the year that Malaysia Airlines would see sustained profitability, with the word being sustained. So update on where is Malaysia Airlines, how close they are to sustained.
Yeah, so I think the overall plan and the budget was that we had a budgeted loss last year. We came in about 30% less than that. We've also got a budgeted loss for this year, which is in the plan. We hopefully will come in about 50% of where that is. But in the last quarter of the year, we expect to make a profit in that quarter, and we expect across the months to have equalised things out. It's not the year for excuses now, it's the year for stuff getting done and stuff happening. There's still a little bit of tidying up to do with some of the fleets. We have some more aircraft that we're haggling with some of the lessors. We may get rid of some aircraft over the next few weeks because the prices are dropping globally and some of our lessors aren't responding to that. So I'm not too proud to dump some people if they're not giving us good value for money. So, but I think we're in a good place at the moment. We're a little bit ahead of where I thought we would be. So things have gone a bit better than I expected, and we're on a good track.
It's going to be a very tough year because I'm going to list off what's actually just bad. Fuel, weak ringgit, all of this. And not only that, competition has come back. Malaysia Airports has been quite good in getting people like BA back, ANA, all of them are coming in. And, how is Malaysia Airlines going to fight all this?
Yeah, I think the second half of the year is going to be crazy with domestic competition. I think we're probably going to see upwards of nearly 40 more aircraft in the second half of the year arriving into the market here.
Good for consumers, but not...
Yeah, but most of that will be on the domestic market. A lot of the airports that you really want to fly to in India, in China, in Japan, they're closed. There's no more space, there's no more slots. So we have our slots there. Some of those airports in India, we downgraded our service from 777 to 737. I need to get more wide-body aircraft to go back just to put more seats on those routes. So I think in the second half of the year, we'll see a lot of fares from the two main low-cost carriers at 10 ringgits, 20 ringgits, 30 ringgits. Already there's some incredibly low fares on the market. We're not going to go there. We're not going to get involved in that price war. There will be blood on the carpet with the price war that's there. There's people going to rack up some big losses related to individual routes and running this. But there's nothing I can do about that. Boo-hoo, that's life. That's what we have to deal with.
Okay.
So domestically, we're going to have a lot of competition. But internationally, our business is booming. I think our push over the last 6 months and our continued push over the next 2 or 3 years is more into the premium segment. It's more into the business traveller. Down the back of the aircraft, we're offering fares of 99 ringgits. Which are much better value than our competitors, because our competitors, you get a low fare, but then you got to pay for your bag, your food, your credit card charges, your charges if you're left-handed, whatever.
I get that. I want to talk strategy actually, because SIA and Cathay, usually for this part of the world, they're considered, they're standard bearers. What happens to them will actually inevitably feed into everybody else. And they are actually talking on their side of like cutting some of the frills to keep costs. But at the same, like no wine or something silly as small as that. But you have said, I want to give passengers more. If I could give them more free stuff, I would. How does that work when you have to keep a massively tight lid on costs?
But it's a matter of haggling and chastising and beating up the suppliers to make sure you get the stuff at great cost. I think it's also a case of, if other carriers are unbundling things and they're taking away the extras, that actually offers the opportunity for us to go in the other direction. Why copy everybody else who's dumbing down the product? 30 years ago, 40 years ago now as a kid, the thought of going on a plane at all was so exciting. It was so cool. you know, you felt like you were an extra in a James Bond movie. You know, there was luxury, there was a bit of romance, there was a bit of passion. We need to get back to that. I don't want people worrying about when they're booking an air ticket, you know, will I bring a 15 kilo case or a 20 kilo case? Can I pack, you know, a lady 3 extra pairs of shoes? You know, that's not what it should be about.
Yes,
you know,
the previous deals that Malaysia
Yeah.
Airlines had, are those almost completely done?
Yes,
you
they are.
completely
Yeah. We've unravelled most of the rubbish that was there, and I said the last big one we've left. We've got some lessors who are still trying to screw us on some of the narrow body and the turboprop aircraft. We'll come to a landing on that in the next couple of months, and that's the last big one we have left.
So of course, service is key. We were talking about more, you know, giving them more and everything like that. And I want to talk to you about this little paradox. I will give props to you. You guys had a great Chinese New Year ad. It got a lot of people talking, great engagement.
Yep.
It was about bringing back a brand that I suppose the country can be proud of, which we haven't felt for a
Yes.
while. But at the same time, I'm sure you must look at social media and see all the bloggers, all the things complaining about how the aircraft looks worn, you know, service is not great, they were either overbooked on flights. So how do you settle this? I mean, like on one hand, you've got this goodwill, but the goodwill doesn't seem to stretch that far. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah, listen, you know, we're on a journey of improvement. I think we're not there yet. We have a lot of work to do, but it has dramatically improved. I think given another 12 months, it'll have improved immeasurably again, and, you know, as we move forward. But you need to listen to the critics. We screwed up on Chinese New Year. Some of our flights were overbooked. We actually are so unused to having too many passengers.
Because you did say that at one point you were carrying a huge A380 with like 50 people, 40 people.
So on domestic flights to Penang over Chinese New Year, we were overbooked on a couple of flights by 20 people. There was terrible weather, we got delayed, so it builds up to 40 people, and then suddenly you've got a problem, you've got too many people. But the core of the problem was nobody had just shut it off from sale. So it's a simple administrative thing. We put in place something to stop that happening again. These mistakes happen. But some of the behaviour sometimes of people is quite wild on social media. So and that is upsetting. You know, you see people using the F word and other terrible language, and then you see that using it on our staff at the airport. I don't really think that's acceptable. So, you know, there's a halfway house there. You try and solve people's problems as best you can, but I suppose it comes back to where we're going as a company. The push for the next year, 2 years, 3 years is going to be about putting people first. So we're putting in place all of the structures and the ability actually where staff at the front line will be able to make some more decisions quicker. But we need to listen to the critics. We're not perfect, and we never will be.
So what does it look like for at least the next couple of quarters? Because second quarter traditionally is actually a bit slow. Are you Malaysia Airlines maintaining around that level?
So our advanced bookings are significantly ahead of where they were this time last year. The most important for us in the premium segment in the business class, the bookings today are twice the level they were this time last year. So, and we actually have slightly less seats in certain period. So that's great because we're bringing back the business class passengers. And in economy, in all regions except the domestic, our bookings are significantly ahead. Domestic on most routes were the same or a little bit less than we were this time last year. But on some of the routes, there's double the number of seats almost coming into the market at low prices that there was this time last year. So we're going to take a battering on domestic market share this year. The amount of seats on the domestic market will probably increase by 25 to 30%. There'll be extraordinarily low fares, brilliant for consumers, but not ideal for us. So more of our expansion will happen over the next few years in China, in the ASEAN region in general. What's helping us on the ASEAN, we got equalization for ASEAN charges. Minister Lau was good enough and the team and Mavcom to equalise that. Once we get that equalised at the end of this year for all international flights, that'll give us a level playing pitch where we really will be able to compete with the competitors. We're getting screwed on that at the moment, and we're paying, you know, needless amounts of extra charges.
Is the equalization really, how much is it going to help?
$8 per passenger is more than the average profit of every airline per passenger in the world. So it's all the difference in the world, actually.
Join us on Thursday for part 2 of our Talking Edge with Peter Bellew, where he goes into his outlook for 2017, balancing national pride and business sense, and Bob Dylan.